I thought I'd give a little context to this sort of obviously nonsense from this person who goes by Misfit Vegan, stating that fruit has more usable protein than quote unquote dead animal, flesh or products or whatever she decided to describe it as. And first of all, fruit as a general rule has very little protein in general. You'd have to eat an incredibly massive amount of fruit to even get close to minimum requirements for protein, and certainly you would not get a good amount of protein just eating fruit, or it'd be near impossible to. So that just out of the gate is just a nonsense comparison. But when we look at something called the DIAS, which stands for the digestibility of indispensable amino acid score, this is something that replaced what previously was used, something called the PDCAS, which was the protein digestibility calculated amino acid score. But anyway, the difference between those two scores, they would look at, what you would eat as a food and then what you would excrete, through stool typically, and they would calculate how much of that protein was actually absorbed. And they look at different animal products, protein isolates, plant products, on and on and on. The difference between the PDCAS, the old version, and the DIAS is that the DIAS looks at what comes out of the ileum, which is the end of the small intestine. And the reason for doing that rather than what's coming out of the far end of the colon or the rectum is that there's a number of bacterial proteins that get mixed into this, and so it can cause an artificial just confusion. It just makes the number less accurate. So looking at the digestibility, what is actually absorbed in the small intestine, where our protein is absorbed, essentially, there's really essentially very little to no protein being absorbed by the colon. So by all intents and purposes, protein is digested and absorbed through the stomach and small intestine. So when we look at the DIAS, or the new, more accurate one, we see that milk protein, or is the number one thing, followed by milks, eggs, beef, and other animal products, and then soy being the most effective plant product. But beyond that, everything else, wheat, corn, legumes, peas, is way down the line. And I can tell you, fruit won't even hardly be on this scale at all. And so, utter nonsense. And so, literally at this point, vegans just make stuff up. I mean, they've been doing that all along. They make stuff up about the environment. They make stuff and make health claims that are just complete nonsense. But anyway, and so you've got to get another perspective. And so we can look at just outcomes. Look in the mirror. Look what happens when you eat a meat-based diet versus you eating a plant-based diet. And that's the only argument you need to make, quite honestly. All right, let me know what you think. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.